Hello and welcome to episode 42 of Retro Recall the PS1 Chronicles, a show where we play and rank every PlayStation game ever created. My name is Jimmy, and as always, I'm here with Mike.
Hello.
I did want to say we didn't mention this because we had guests on the episode, I believe, but 40 episodes, you know?
It's crazy. It doesn't feel like we've been doing that for this long. It just feels like it's been a couple weeks and we're almost like coming up on a year, which is insanity.
I know. It just feels like we've kind of settled into a rhythm with it. Like it's just, you know, this is what I do every week. I play a game. You know, it's just part of my life now, you know?
Yeah, and I
Weird.
don't think it's that bad of a thing. Like if we said, oh, this feels like we've been doing this for 5 years now, that's a bad sign. The fact that it only feels like a month or two whenever it's been almost a year, we're having fun with this, so that's what matters.
No, I'm genuinely like, I have a lot of fun just playing new games every week. Like we've always said this, and this is repeating myself a ton, but you know, playing games I would never play ever. Now I'm forced to play them. And think about in the end, we're going to be able to say we've played, I don't know if we're going to do 1,000 episodes, but we've played the majority of the PS1 library, which is, you know, how many people can say that?
Exactly. And speaking of that, this game, I specifically remember seeing this game in a gaming magazine, and I was like, that looks awesome. I want to play it. And I never did. So the fact that like now it comes around and I finally get to play the game that I saw years upon years ago is a really cool thing.
Yeah, I actually had this game on the demo disc I keep bringing up, which is funny. We've played so many games that were on this demo disc I had for some reason, but it had just the first level in it. And I remember playing it a few times, and I will say I was kind of scared of it a little bit. But, you know, I was like, I had to have been 5 years old, 6 years old. So
That's
like,
understandable.
you know, this game does have creepy imagery. It's like basically one step above like Nightmare Before Christmas. You know what I mean?
Yes. And we'll be getting into both of those points here in a little bit.
Yeah. And there was a remake of this game for PS4 about 5 years ago.
Oh, interesting.
It sold so poorly that they gave it away for free, and I downloaded it and never played it.
Oh, well, now I feel like you should if you still have it and just to compare it now.
I mean, I do have it, and I looked at some reviews of the remake right before this episode, actually, just to kind of see what the consensus was then, because it's the kind of remake that they didn't really change anything. They just made it look better.
Oh.
I believe they changed like the camera to make it modern controls, but like the combat, the levels, it's all the same.
Interesting.
So we will get into why that is a problem soon here. I did just want to do a quick shout out. I've been playing this game this week on my Steam Deck called Mini Shoot Adventures.
Sounds interesting. Is it just a mini character shooting?
I mean, yeah, but it is like take an old school Zelda game and you're playing as a ship.
Okay.
So you're exploring an area like a light Metroidvania, and all the combat is like bullet hell shooting.
Oh, it sounds like a nice combination of games.
Yeah, I've been hearing about it for a while. I know it came out like a while ago, but I don't know. I was on sale and I was like, you know what? I had it on my wish list. It's a short game. I'm pretty sure it's maybe like 5 or 6 hours. So I've been playing it in bite-sized chunks whenever I had time. I'm really liking it. It's really fun.
I mean, as always, every time you bring up a new game, after we're done recording, I always just go check it out. So
yeah, I mean, recently that has replaced Balatro as my play a little bit before bed game. So we'll see how long that lasts, but I like it so far.
Yeah, we haven't heard about Balatro in a long time, so I wasn't sure if you were even still playing it.
I still play it at least once a week. I mean, like I don't sit and play it for a long time.
Oh, okay.
Now, by the time this episode has come out, I don't know if the mobile version will have been out already, but when that comes out, I'll be playing it.
Oh yeah, I'll probably be picking it up as well. As long as it's a reasonable price, I will be buying it.
I'll pay $20 for that thing on my phone.
Really?
Dude, it's such a good game. Like, I love it. So
True.
I bought The Binding of Isaac on my phone and never played it. So I just can't play games with touch controls on my phone. I feel like weird about it. I don't like it.
I get that. And like with the Harvest Moon episode, like me playing Stardew all the time, I had the mobile version just because I'm always on the go and I couldn't just sit at my computer to play. It was nice up until you got to like the caves. And then the touch controls just like added a difficulty to the game that isn't actually there in the PC version.
Well, yeah, it's a combination of like the on-screen controls taking up so much of the screen that sometimes you can't tell what's going on. And then just like touch controls sucking in general. So
yeah, you need those physical like that physical feedback to know what you're doing.
Yeah, now that there's like emulators and stuff on iPhone, I considered buying one of those like things you put on the sides to make it a controller, but I just don't care that much. And I also already have my Steam Deck, so it's like, what's the point?
Exactly.
But Balatro is the perfect game to just play by moving things around with your finger. Like,
Exactly.
it's made for it. So when that does come out, I'll be playing it at work. I know that. I'll be playing it, just sitting around all the time. It'll be a problem. That's for sure.
I'll be talking about it too, because I'll be playing it all the time now too.
I can't wait. But yeah, so with that, let's just hop into MediEvil. MediEvil was released on October 21st, 1998 in North America. It was developed by Sony Computer Entertainment Studio Cambridge, and it was published by Sony. It's a hack and slash like action game with, platformer, puzzle, exploration elements thrown in there. But if somebody asked me what this game was, I just call it like an action game or something, like an action platformer, maybe something like that.
That's pretty much where I would have gone. Like I said, according to the magazine and stuff, I always thought of it as a hack and slash. Getting into it this time, it's really not. It's not as much of a hack and slash as I expected it and I was anticipating it to be.
Yeah, I would say it has more in common with like Mario 64 and like Banjo-Kazooie than it does with the straight up hack and slash games. Like you have to really explore the level.
Yeah. And well, okay, I'm already going to go down this rabbit hole of we need to start from the beginning as always.
Yeah.
So the story, I love how they set it up.
Very well done.
I was surprised there was actually as much story as there is. Pretty much from what I gathered, you were this soldier that killed a wizard and then he came back.
Yeah. So you killed him. At least you thought so. He comes back and then so you get resurrected from the dead to kill him again.
Pretty simple story. Portrayed well. They tell it like they don't to waste a ton of time. It's just, here you go. Now go play the game.
Yeah, I think that the story and like the cinematics, the theming, the graphic style, all that stuff, that is where this game shines the brightest.
100%. And I don't know if you feel the same way. During the cinematics, like getting into the gameplay, my first thought was, this looks and reminds me a lot like Nightmare Before Christmas.
That's why I said it in the intro. It absolutely just has that vibe 100%.
And I was like, okay, maybe I'm crazy. And then I go and I do some research, and that's what they were going for. So you can see it from the very start of the game.
I didn't know they were going for it. I mean, that is definitely like, they nailed it for sure.
Yeah. They were inspired by, graphically for Nightmare Before Christmas. The music, they were inspired by Danny Elfman, who also worked on Nightmare Before Christmas. So you cannot deny that that's what this is.
No, every single aspect of it makes sense now. But I think they did a great job nailing that vibe 100%.
Yeah. So when you're getting into this, I mean, a lot of the levels you're just exploring. That's explore and eliminate people.
Well, so, okay. How long did you play this game for?
3 hours.
Yeah, I'm right a little bit under 3 hours. I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. This game fucking sucks. Right?
What?
Oh, okay. You like this game?
I knew this was going to happen eventually. I am on the opposite end of the spectrum on you on this.
All right, finally. Here we go. Something interesting for a change. I hated playing this game so much. There were some points where I was like, I'm done. Like, I cannot play this anymore. I have played an hour of it. I'm good. I played another level, got stuck, or like something happened, or like just annoying level design or whatever. How do you like this game?
So, okay, yeah, we'll start with why I like it. I'm curious to why you don't like this. So first off, the world, the design, the characters. I love the character design, the concept of how he's like, how he looks and everything. Love the fact that you can't understand him talking because he's missing the lower part of his jaw.
I agree with everything you're saying. I love the art style. I love all of that stuff.
On top of that, one of my favorite games, Spyro the Dragon. I see a lot of similarities in this game. With Spyro, you're rescuing the dragons. In this, you talk to gargoyles, and it kind of gives off the same vibe as like rescuing the dragons. Spyro, also a game where you're just collecting things and killing things. And that's what I see in this as well. Now, I'm not going to say it's as good as Spyro. I'm not going to go to that point. I can see it in your face.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I can see the similarities. And I didn't hate playing this game there are negatives, of course, but overall, I thought it was a very fun experience.
I have a lot of reasons why I don't like this game. So
yeah, let's just start with what they are.
I think we could go point by point here. So the first thing, and it is the most glaring thing that I think is wrong with it, is the combat.
Okay.
So your comparison to Spyro actually does make sense. I can see a lot of the similarities, but Spyro feels good to control. It feels good to burn guys and like slam into them. In this game, you're just slamming the attack button, hoping they don't run into you and take away your health.
Yeah, that is a problem I experienced. Like, the farther I got into the game, the more common it was. But I get it. Like, they can't have it be as simple as the first levels. There has to be a little bit of give.
No, I hear you. The game definitely does ramp up in difficulty. I did like maybe 6 levels, 5 or maybe 7, something like that.
So to do that real quick, like what level did you make it to? Because there is a point in the map where it splits and you can choose where you want to go.
So there's the point where it splits and you can go to the pumpkin level or you can go to the city level with all the people around.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you get that far?
I went the scarecrow level, the farm.
Oh, this is after that.
Oh, okay. So did you complete all of the pumpkin stuff?
So I'm having trouble remembering, even though I just fucking played this game. So you go straight up, right? You fight that boss at the top. Then you go to the right.
To the castle. Yep. Yes.
And there's 2 different ways you can go. There's the one you can go that's up, which is like a little forest level.
Yep.
I did that one and I couldn't beat it. Like I beat it, but it didn't say that I beat it.
I think you got to come back to it later.
Yeah. So then I went through the pumpkin level. I did the scarecrow level. Then there's the other split where you can go. No, the split is you can go to the pumpkin level or you can go to the sleeping city.
Yes.
So I beat the city and then I stopped when I was on the level after that, which I played today.
Okay. So I went the opposite route. I did the scarecrow and I completed that path. And then my next path to go was the city. So I didn't go that way, which is good. So now we did 2 different parts and can compare those.
Yeah. But no, the combat just feels too loose. Like I don't feel like I have full control. I don't feel like I can properly, what is the word I'm looking for? Properly like act in a way where I don't take damage.
I can see that. And there's definitely a lot of enemies too that it just feels impossible to take them out without getting hurt. A lot.
The level that I was on, there were so many enemies that took so many hits, and I even got the hammer.
Oh, okay. I was hoping you got the Warhammer.
Yeah, so I went back and I 100%ed a couple levels so I could get the hammer.
Okay.
And even then, my method for attacking them, because there'd be like 3 or 4 of them, and they would all take like 4 to 5 maybe hits. So I would just hold it to charge it up, smack them, run away, charge it back up again, run back and smack them. That was the only way I could defeat them without taking a ton of damage. Because some of these enemies, they just fucking touch you and it takes away a third of your health bar.
Yeah, that I hear you on that. That is a problem.
There's just nothing you can do about it. Like you'd have to literally like memorize everything and memorize all these attack patterns. Even going that far, you still don't have control of your character in a way that feels meaningful. It just feels like you're stumbling around smacking shit.
Honestly, that's a good way to explain it. Is just stumbling around, swinging wildly and just hitting whatever you can. That was my fight style, just running circles, swinging until everything was dead.
I just don't like that. I like heavier combat that feels meaningful and feels good. And like, I'm not expecting this to have fucking amazing modern combat, but it just feels like there's no feedback to your hits. There's no way that you can do what you want to do and what you know you need to do. The game just wants you to swing wildly, it seems like.
Kinda, but I mean, you do have your heavy attack. I found that for a lot of enemies, I would start with that to push them back and then hope that I can charge it for the next time around. Because whenever you come back to the graveyard the second time, you get those bigger guys that just run full force at you. That's where like I'm holding the heavy attack and I'm just hoping to push them back and like get some space between us.
Those guys were so annoying, especially when you're in the narrow caves and they're running at you. There's like nothing you can really do.
Yep. I do like how you can charge your heavy attack while still running. You're not like you don't have to stand still while charging it.
That's true. And I know you can use the shield to block stuff, but it felt like, I don't know, it doesn't feel right to do that because of the way you have to hold the buttons.
Yeah, having shield be triangle was painful to say the least. Like I always had to claw the controller to like hit it with my pointer.
It just doesn't seem like the game wants you to play that way, so they purposefully did it like that.
Yeah, good. That's a good way to say it. So you have a club and every time you swing, you lose a percent. If you hit an object, you lose even more percent. And you have a shield, like you were saying, but every hit on the shield takes away the durability of the shield, which is painful because you really need your shield sometimes, but it's a nice feature that I think they went and did. So like you can't just constantly rely on that through the entire game.
I will say I never had a problem finding extra shields on the level, though. I feel like of all the resources in this game, I found shields probably the most.
Yeah, I'd say so.
There was at least 1 to 2 on every level. You know what I mean?
But I also found that I never used the shield all that much.
Yeah. So mine was already at nearly 100% anyway. So then when I got another one, it was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah. There was a part in the pumpkin levels where like there's these pumpkins with like legs that sprouted out.
Oh, I remember.
I used my shield the most out of that because they were just like, some of them shot like fireballs or something at you. And that sucked. So I had to like use up my shields on them.
Plus, if they touch you, they do so much damage.
Oh, yeah.
I died a couple times right there, yeah.
When you get like 3 or 4 of them on you, it's rough.
So once I unlocked the hammer, I pretty much exclusively use that.
Yes.
So yeah, the way you unlock new weapons in this game, permanent, like you can find a weapon in the level. I didn't find anything but the club, so I don't know if you find anything else at some point. But if you 100% a level, you go to this thing called the Hall of Heroes, and then you get a new weapon from someone that knew you, like Sir Daniel in the past. So, you know, like an old war friend or something, they'll be like, take this. I don't need it anymore. I'm dead, you know?
Which is also like Spyro 2 with the dragons.
That's true.
Which is funny because this game came out a month after Spyro. Like I had to look it up because of how similar they were.
I mean, this is just the name of the game for that era. Like there were so many games like this in Spyro coming out.
Yeah. I only found the sword and the club and daggers, throwing daggers. Those were the only 3 things I found.
Yeah, so maybe everything else is in the Hall of Heroes then, because I didn't find anything else either.
Or it's just as you get farther in, you find better weapons, I would guess.
But even if you find it, it will have that durability, so it's not like it matters anyway.
Except for the sword. The sword never has a durability on it, which is nice.
No, I just mean like if you find a weapon in a level, usually it's going to have durability. So
oh yeah,
most of the time you just need it for something in that level, and that's it. Like yeah, you'll carry it over to the next level, but you won't really need it.
Right.
But yeah, just to talk on that a little bit, I don't really love that the only way to get new weapons is to 100% levels.
See, I kind of like it. I think it gives you a reason to want to find everything and a reason to kill people. So, like, sorry, I'm going to compare these two a lot compared to Spyro. You 100% a level for what? You don't get anything. For this, or every game, you 100% a level for no reason. This is one of the first ones we've done where you 100% a level for a reason.
I hear you, but do you know why I 100% levels in Spyro? Because it's fun to play.
I get that. Like, Spyro doesn't need the upgrades. It's just you're 100%ing it to say you 100% it.
Regardless, I mean, I see what you're saying, for sure. And I guess just to say it, because we didn't say it yet, it's 100% a level. You have to find a chalice. And then once you find it, you come back to it at the end after you've killed a certain amount of enemies. You'll have a percentage in the top that shows the percent of enemies that you need to kill to get it. So there's always the whole thing of you have to explore to find it and figure out a way to get to it. Then you have to make sure you kill enough enemies.
Well, no. You can kill enemies first and then find it later.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I didn't mean that like it's in that order, but that's just like, both things that you have to do.
And you don't have to kill 100% of the enemies to get 100% of like the blood, I guess, for the chalice.
Yeah, and even on levels where there's areas where they keep respawning, you can just farm it for the chalice too.
Yeah, which is nice that they do that.
Yeah, and an interesting twist on that actually was in the city level, there's people there that are taken over, and if you kill them, it takes down your percentage.
Oh, so you can't kill the people, you have to just kill the monsters.
Yeah, as soon as the level starts, it's like, don't kill any of these people. They're good people. They've just been taken over by this thing. So if you kill any of them, the thing goes down.
That's a nice little twist to the gameplay.
That level was very annoying with like exploring. So I just killed them all anyway, because they're constantly trying to hurt you.
Right.
So like the idea is to like run past them, but there's just so many of them and I didn't know what to do. So I just kind of killed them all and gave up on that.
Yeah, that's kind of like with the, I'll just say the Halloween levels. The scarecrows you can't kill. So
you can kill the scarecrows.
How?
Hit them enough times.
Oh, I sat there like hitting one nonstop and I died because they just kept spinning into me.
Oh, I killed them all.
I didn't know you could kill them, so I just ran by them every single time.
Did you get the chalice on that level?
No.
Dude, it's so frustrating. So, you know how there's like the big corn maze?
Yes.
You can't go in there or you die.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go into that big building right there, there's a big like machine that destroys crops.
Oh, that's because I found harvester pieces.
Yep.
But I didn't know where that was.
Yeah, you have to find the pieces, then you have to go back to it, and then it uses it and it clears out a path for you to go through the maze.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I spent a little bit of time just trying to jump through it. I even use save states because I'm like, I'm going to figure out how to get through this right now. So I'm hitting a save state, jumping in, just dying, reset. And then I'm like, there has to be something I'm missing. And then I found the part and I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah, so for me, I 100%ed, I think, the first like 3 levels. I'm like, oh, this is my goal. I'm going to 100% every single level that we play. Then I kind of like realized I'm wasting time because I need to get farther into the game to see more so we could talk about it. So I kind of gave up after a while. And then there were levels I naturally got the chalice just by playing the level.
Yeah.
So in those cases, that's whenever I got it. But there's a point I gave up on trying to do it.
Yeah, I mean, on the later levels, it takes a lot. Like you really have to explore the entire level.
Mm-hmm. Every single nook and cranny.
Before I complain more, I will say another positive is I feel like all these levels are very unique from each other.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel like it was repeating stuff, at least not yet.
Not yet. For the 3 hours we played, every single time you go into a new level, even the like quote unquote Halloween levels, each one felt different. Each one had new enemies and was different environments, and so refreshing to see that.
No, I mean, I thought it was going to be just repeating the same kind of vibe they do in the very beginning the whole time, but they really didn't do that. Like, I thought it was going to be like graveyards and just that same thing. And yeah, there are graveyards in almost every level, but they're a part of the level, not the whole level.
Exactly. Yeah, that was a huge positive for me too. Like, they really put a lot of work into enemies and environments. I loved it.
Yeah, but next complaint.
Okay.
And this ties into the combat as well. I hate the health system in this game.
Oh, what do you not like about it?
I don't like that you have these, like, so essentially you have lives, right? And that's the life vials or whatever.
Yeah.
So does that reset each level you play or does it carry over?
It always carries over. Every time.
Okay. And the same thing with the health. You don't regenerate health between levels either.
Nope.
So that combined with the fact that it's insanely hard to not take damage just makes this so frustrating for me all the time. Like, literally, I went back and I was like, can I go and play an earlier level again and like refill my life vials or something? But you can't.
Yeah, you can.
How?
Like, I finished up a level and I went back to the graveyard because that's an easy level to get through quickly. And I'd go heal up at that fountain. Oh, wait. Are we now discovering that you did not realize you can heal?
Hold on.
That's what's happening right now, isn't it?
No, I know you can heal at the fountains.
Okay.
Does that refill the little bottles too?
Yep, you just stay in it and it will keep refilling.
I didn't know that part.
I will give it to this that they thought about this and the fountains run out eventually. So, like, if your health bar is really low, and you have like 2 empty bottles, you can't fill up all 3 of them plus your health bar. You get like 2 life bottles, full life bar, and like a half of the third. It will eventually run out. So I assume when you get farther into the game and you have like 6 life bottles, 7 life bottles, now you're kind of screwed with that because now you can't refill everything all at once.
Yeah, all right. I didn't know that. I was trying to find like some sort of like, I thought maybe the little like potions that you get, it's like restores your energy or something. I forget what they're called exactly, but I just thought that maybe getting those refilled them. And then I tried to replay the level and it didn't. So I was just like, I don't really know what to do.
The only reason I figured that out was simply because I was curious about it. Like, it fills up my life bar. What happens if I stay in it? And that's the only reason I knew what happened.
Yeah, that one's on me, I guess. The game doesn't really tell you that, though. They might have.
It doesn't.
Okay. I mean, I stopped talking to every single statue after a while because there's so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if maybe that was something I missed early on or if it just doesn't tell you.
I thought for sure you were about to say that you didn't realize that the green fountains were health. I thought that's where we were going with this.
No, I knew I could heal myself. I just didn't know how to refill the life vials.
Yeah,
but I guess I don't know. I mean, okay, that takes it back a little bit because that one was on me. But at the same time, the combat still sucks. And I still stand by the fact that it's so hard not to take damage. So even if you refill everything that you can and you get to one of these levels where they throw 3, for example, of those big pumpkin things at you, it's so hard not to take any damage at all.
Oh, I agree. I do wonder how much easier it'd be to go back and do those levels with the Warhammer. Because I found whenever I had the Warhammer, at least in the levels I did, I was just running, slamming the ground and just destroying everything in my path. Like the game became infinitely easier once I got that weapon.
Yeah, the problem is that the game accounts for that where I was at in the game. So the enemies just took at least 3 to 4 hits with the hammer.
Oh, okay.
Even with it fully charged.
One thing I do like is that if you do go back to like the graveyard level, another thing the game accounts for is you doing that, and the enemies, it feels like there's more enemies and they do run at you and they do hit you more. So it's like a way to prevent you from cheesing that level over and over again.
That's true. I did that and I didn't even notice that. So
is there any other negatives that you didn't like? Actually, I have a negative that you can agree with. The camera is a joke.
That is probably one of the bigger negatives. I don't even know why they didn't come to my mind first. But
I thought that's where you were instantly going to go with the negatives. I was furious trying to fight this camera. We've talked about fighting the camera in other games, not like this. I don't know if this is the worst we've experienced with the camera, but it was bad.
I'm sure we will experience worse, but no matter how many times you use the triggers to rotate, it never feels good.
Nope. And not even that, but you're limited. Like if you're in a small area, you're not allowed to spin the camera because I think they're like, oh, the camera's going to clip through the walls. So we can't allow you to do that.
I mean, it makes sense, but some of the angles they give you, you just can't see what's going on.
Yep. There were times when I'm like running and I had like, because of the way I went, I turned around and I couldn't spin the camera to now see in front of me. So I had to go back into the room I was just in, spin the camera around and then go back the way I wanted to just to see where I was going.
It's an absolute nightmare. And like, if you're going to have a full 3D game like this, you got to figure it the fuck out.
Yep. I don't want to give excuses, but I did see in a bunch of research I was seeing about this that they didn't really know what they were doing with this game. Like while they were developing this, it was just them figuring things out as they went. So they were saying that like they played the alpha versions of Crash Bandicoot in another game. I can't remember what. And that's where they started to get ideas of like how to fix some of the problems they had. So with that, I understand why it's so bad because they just didn't know what they were doing.
Mario 64 had been out for 2 years.
Yes.
That camera is still kind of shitty, but compared to this, it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, I think the big thing was just them not understanding 3D gaming yet. So they were just, they couldn't really, because the original concept for this game, I think, was a 2D platformer action game. So I get the downfalls of it. It's not really an excuse. The camera should be better, but I kind of get it.
I hear you. I think that back then, games didn't take as long to develop, right? It's not like now where it's like 7 years to make a game. So there were plenty of games coming out that they could have took cues from. They just didn't. And, you know, that could be for many reasons, running out of time, budget. Like, you don't know why things are the way they are. But I don't know. Cameras were also a problem around this time because of exactly what you're saying, where people were still figuring out how to make, 3D work. But at the end of the day, it's just unacceptable.
The instant it was happening to me, and I was so mad at the camera, I'm like, oh, this is making Jimmy so angry right now.
The combat made me the most angry. That's why I brought it up first. That was like number one, like, fuck this shit. Like, I was so mad.
I wouldn't expect that to be number one on your negatives.
All right, next negative.
Okay.
Any time where you have to platform at all is terrible.
Okay. What level do you have a specific level?
The first example was you have to jump. There's like a little area in the beginning of a level where you jump on a little boat and you go down.
Is that when you get back to the graveyard?
Maybe. I don't remember. It was one of the earlier levels.
With the coffins going in, it takes you to the secret area?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I fell into the water so many times.
Oh.
I guess I should also ask, did you play this with the sticks or with the D-pad?
Back and forth.
Okay. Because if you don't use the sticks, you just walk the whole time. You have to like hold a button to run.
Yeah, you got to double tap the button when walking.
Oh, it's a double tap?
Yeah. So if I needed to be precise, I use the D-pad. If I was just running around, I use the joystick.
I just feel like it's a case of like too fast, too slow, you know?
It was. I can agree. Yes.
And I also just felt like when I had to make precise jumps sometimes, I never felt like I had the right angle to be able to properly judge what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of times where you're trying to think of a specific example, like where you're jumping across platforms, multiple platforms, or jumping up on something. I never felt like I could do it right the first time, even though like I've played a million games like this. This should be fucking easy.
It's kind of like the Crash Bandicoot problem. And I implied the same tactic if I just stared at the shadow whenever I was doing the jumps to see where I was going.
Yeah, that's true. I think I ended up doing that eventually.
But I feel like that's a problem with a lot of games like this.
You're not wrong. I mean, this came out in 1998, so checks out.
But yeah, I do agree. I think going back to the area you were talking about, that secret area to get all that gold and the life stuff, when you get back to the graveyard, whenever you go up the steps and to get back into the fights, I jumped down, completely missed, and went into the water and died because I thought I was going the right direction, but I wasn't. So I just reloaded my game and did it again.
I also think falling into the water, taking one of your lives is pretty unforgiving.
Again, water was always a nemesis for characters back in the day.
There's also at least one level where you can just fall off the edge, which I was surprised by because it doesn't happen in any other level.
Yep.
It got me, and I'm like, whatever.
The way I look at it is this is standard for the time. Like every game around this time would have the same problems, and they were still trying to figure it out.
No, I hear you. And I'm going to bring up these exact same complaints every time we play one of these games because it's just, you can't ignore it.
So I have a negative.
Okay.
Which is the flying enemies are a nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
They just seem like impossible to hit.
I mean, but that's how I feel about every enemy in this game, dude. It's like, what are you supposed to do? You can't properly aim. You can't properly do anything. You're just swinging wildly no matter what's coming at you.
Yeah. I just feel like with the flying ones, there's the crows and the scarecrow level, and then there's bats later on. It's just they're flying erratically, which they would do in real life. And just to hit them, you're just spinning in a circle, swinging, hoping that you can hit them in the hitbox.
Yeah, yeah. This game just, it goes back to the feeling we had when we played Crash, right? Where it just feels intentionally mean. Like they want to watch you struggle with some of this stuff.
See, I didn't struggle all that much though. Like with Crash, yes, we struggled a lot. This I feel is less mean than Crash. That's just where I stand on that.
I almost feel like it's less mean because it's poorly designed.
Possibly. Yeah, and that goes back to the limitations they had as developers. So yeah, I could see that.
I don't know, man. I just think about all the other games that were out around this time on PS1 and N64. There's so many examples of this kind of game done right. So that's why I can't give it the passes that you're giving it. I just there's so many games like this that I would go back and play right now.
Do you have one off the top of your head?
Spyro, Crash, Banjo-Kazooie, any of those 3D action platformer kind of games.
Yeah.
They just all do exploring in a 3D space so much better. I know Crash isn't proper 3D, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I can see that then, yeah. The other thing too, it's weird. You get that crossbow the first time you go into the Hall of Heroes. I never used the crossbow until it came to a boss fight. And when it came to the boss fight, I just shredded through every single boss as if it was nothing.
That, and I used it in the Scarecrow area where you're fighting the big giant guys.
And the mech suit things?
Yes.
Yeah. I did the same thing.
That's because you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing with the throwing knives. Those are pretty much useless, right?
I never found a use for them. Anything I could use the throwing knives for, I just used the crossbow.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at. I tried to do it, but they just feel so inaccurate that it feels like a waste of time.
Yep. Now, did you make it to the wolves boss?
Yeah, that boss sucks.
What is the correct way to beat them? Because I did beat them, but not in a correct way, I don't think.
I just kept taking the hits to beat them. Whenever they would face through me to hurt me, I would just stand there and let them do it and then just smack on them as many times as I could.
Did you use your sword?
Yeah, that was before I got the hammer.
Okay, yeah. So all I did, I just held the super, the heavy hit and just waited. Like you said, I took the hit and waited for them to be visible and then I just swung. And that seemed to be the best way.
Yeah, at first I tried to use the crossbow, but it just doesn't work.
No, so the way it sounds is you beat the pumpkins and stuff. Did you fight the Pumpkin King?
No.
Oh, okay. So you stopped at that point and went on to a different way.
Yeah, I think I died on that level after playing it for a while. And then I was like, you know what? I don't want to do the whole thing again.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that's another negative. There's no checkpoints at all. So if you die on a level, you have to start from the very beginning.
Yep.
That's fucking brutal. You have to admit that.
Yes, but some of at least the ones I've done, some of the levels are very short, or at least very small.
I was going to say the opposite. Some of the later levels, I spent a half an hour on, like 20 minutes.
Like which one? Is that in the city?
The city and the one after. You just have to so for example, in the city one, you have to go to different houses, get different things, and you have to go to another area and craft an item. Then you have to go back and use it somewhere else. The level that I did right before we started, you're in this big maze garden, and you have to solve riddles by going to different corners and doing specific things.
Oh.
Each one of those levels took me a good 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And today, I was running out of time. I didn't know where to go. And then I died, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done. No more.
Yeah, I guess maybe when you get farther into the game, the levels start to get a little bit more involved. I mean, the one you get to the Pumpkin King, that's a very small map to explore. And it's another boss fight. And again, with the crossbow, wasn't even a fight. It makes it interesting too, because when you have to find the chalice, you're like, okay, well, I can see every corner of this map just by standing here, and I can't find the chalice. And it makes you think outside of the box of, okay, where could this be? And for that one, you had to jump down a well. I just happened to see the well and what if I just jump into that? And I did, and I fell down and found the chalice down there.
That's cool. No, I hear what you mean, but I just think the last 2 levels that I played were both more exploration based and not going straight through a level.
Yeah.
Dying on it just feels so punishing, because even if I was just playing this as a kid, I would not immediately go back and play it again. I would take a break for sure. And, after so many of those breaks, who's to say I'll just stop coming back?
Yeah. And it's one of those weird things too, because when you're in one of those longer levels, I feel like that's where the shield shouldn't break as fast as it does. It should be a little bit more lenient on how long it takes for the shields to break.
Yeah, I hear you there.
But I like exploration in games, going back to Spyro, trying to find all those gems, and you just have to run around the entire map and try to figure out all these little ledges. I love that.
No, I mean, I also love Spyro. I just think all of these things I've complained about, right? They all add together and complement each other in a negative way. You're taking a lot of damage. There's no checkpoints. The levels are long. You can't reliably not take damage. All of these things combined creates just a frustrating experience where if you don't figure it out quickly on your first try, you're either going to be exploring a whole bunch or restarting the level a bunch of times. It's just a waste of time when it's not that fun of a game to play to begin with.
Yeah, I understand your frustration with it.
You also can't quit the level, by the way. You can't go back to the map. If you hit quit, you go back to the main menu.
I did that too, yeah. Another interesting thing is when you're in the castle, those little pig things with the torches, they can steal your items.
I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't? I think I saw it on your footage. It steals your sword, so you have to use a different weapon to kill him to get your sword back.
Oh, yeah. I only ran into them that one time, though, I think.
Yeah, so I went through that level, beat it, but I forgot to I had a blue tablet to open one of the doors, and I forgot to go do that. So I went back into the level, and one of the pig guys stole my sword, and I didn't kill him fast enough, and he ran away into the hole and never came back. Essentially, I then lost my sword forever, so I just reloaded the game. I'm I don't care enough about that blue tablet to do anything about it.
Yeah, that's crazy. They could just take away your one weapon forever.
I don't know if you ever get it back, but I tried, and I couldn't get it back.
Maybe if you beat the level, you automatically get it back or something. There has to be a way.
Oh, that's a good point.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of went through most of my complaints with this game. I think I've made it pretty clear how I feel about it at the end of the day. So,
do you have any other positives?
No.
So I have one more thing. I love the mini quests within levels. I only had it happen to me once. I know you didn't find it, but if you go into the Enchanted Forest, there's a witch cauldron there.
I found that. I didn't know what to do with it though.
Did you not get the witch token?
Oh, I did. Are you supposed to use it there?
Yeah. So if you use the witch emblem at the cauldrons, a witch will appear and they'll talk to you. In the Pumpkin King level, the witch wants you to just kill the Pumpkin King, and then you get a dragon gem out of that. In the Enchanted Forest, the witch wants you to get amber from the ants. And I'm like, oh, cool. You just got to go around slamming on anthills and you get the amber. No, she shrinks you down to the size of an ant. And you now are in a mini quest in that level where you're going through the anthill and fighting ants to get all the amber. And this is the first time it was actually kind of creepy because it's pitch black. So you only have like these fireflies around you to light your immediate area. And the ants, you can hear their pitter patter of their feet in the distance. And you're like, I can't see you. So you're coming up somewhere. Not like scary like Silent Hill, but it did like have that little bit of tension in there.
That's cool. Yeah, no, I love little stuff like that.
And then while you're in that mini quest, you then have another like a little sub quest in there where you also have to find people trapped inside of the anthill. So you're doing two things at the same time, and then you have to fight the queen ant, which is like a mini boss. Which within all this is like such a cool little detail that they have like these little tiny quests hidden in the area.
That is cool. I do wish I would have found that.
So I mean, it's another little detail that is it done perfectly? No, but I love the heart put into it.
No, I hear you. And I also love exploration in games. I'm wearing a Fallout New Vegas shirt. I do love exploring. I just feel like it's not rewarding enough here. And it essentially is mandatory if you want to be able to beat this game. They treat getting the chalice as like it's this like, oh, it's like getting all the boxes in Crash, right? But it's not. You have to do it or else you won't get powerful enough weapons to keep playing the game.
That is a good point. I wonder how possible this game is if you never get it.
Like just your sword?
Yeah.
I mean, I hope you like hitting enemies 20 times because that's what it would be, right?
It would have to be. Which it also makes me think because like we get the Warhammer, which is more or less an upgraded club that doesn't have durability. So I wonder if there's a point where if you can get an upgraded shield that has no durability.
Maybe. I would imagine you probably get an upgraded sword at some point as well.
Yeah. And then at that point, you can just run through the levels with ease. And then they just throw bigger enemies at you at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just going to escalate from there. Like, no matter what weapon you have, the enemies will take more hits and there'll be more of them and there will be no escape.
Right.
I don't know. I definitely am going to raise my score a little bit based on some of the things you've said. But overall, I just didn't really have a fun time at all with this.
I was surprised. You kind of hinted towards it, but I didn't think it was as bad as you were making it out to be. Like sometimes you say like, oh yeah, it's going to be painful, but you're still somewhat a lot more positive about it.
Well, when we talk, I try not to give away anything so we can have this organic discussion about it.
Right.
Unless it's something like D, where like we know this is fucking trash. So no reason to hide it. With this one, I thought we were going to be on the same page, but it's nice to see that we're finally not for once.
I know. That's why I was kind of excited about it too. I'm like, knowing where I'm at with it, and I knew where you were going to be at with this. I'm like, okay, we're finally going to disagree.
All right, well, let me read these reviews and then we can do the scores. So it did get really positive reviews, but the remake got really bad reviews.
Right.
There's even a PSP version that came out like in the early 2000s that also got bad reviews because people just realized that, this game felt so dated.
I get that.
So GameSpot gave it an 8.2 out of 10 and said, MediEvil may not be as graphically appealing or as accurate in camera controls as Spyro the Dragon, but to keep that analogy going, it provides the level of diversity, challenge, and fun that title may have somewhat lacked. All in all, it's a welcome surprise.
Kind of funny that they compared it to Spyro as well.
Yeah, I picked it because we both know Spyro, and then turns out you brought it up anyway, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree with what he's saying. Like, I think we talked about the diversity. The challenge, I mean, I didn't go to the city like you did. And I can only imagine it gets harder as you play, so. Just
to correct myself real quick, the city wasn't that hard. The city was hard for the exploring aspects of it. The level after that was hard for the enemies.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't even put this in the same ballpark as fucking Spyro the Dragon. IGN gave it a 7.8 out of 10 and said, if you're looking for innovation, look elsewhere. But if a mindless hack and slash romp is what you're after, this will fit the bill nicely. Sir Arthur reacts promptly to your commands, the environments are clever, and there's plenty of personality to go around. But on the downside, it's simply nothing that a 16 or 8-bit game could have delivered aside from the lavish graphics.
Pretty much saying what we already said already too. I do like how there's no delay in the attacks. Like he's saying how he reacts promptly to what your commands are. I do like that, but like we talked about, he either moves too fast or too slow. Kind of like with Saga when we played that. There's no middle ground of a perfect speed. It's one or the other.
Yeah, I will say, even though you're swinging like wildly and really don't have a lot of control over what you're doing, he does react promptly. Like when you're swinging constantly, he is doing it.
Yeah, even with the Warhammer, which is a huge two-handed weapon, you just blast things. Like in that ant level that I was talking about, just running through, like every hit would knock them in the air a little bit so they can never attack me. And I was just destroying every single one.
Yeah, that's how I dealt with the more powerful enemies towards the end. Like there'd be 4 of them and they each take a bunch of hits. So charge it up, I hit it and they all fall down. And that gives me time to run away and then come back and do it again.
Yeah, yeah. Which is a way to think about it too. Like the combat isn't always just go in swinging to fight the people. Sometimes you got to take a hit, take a step back, take a hit, take a step back just to deal with all of them.
I feel like instead of having a meaningful combat system, they kind of just like want you to flail around and figure it out as you go. You know what I mean?
I get that. Yeah.
But that brings us to our scores. So I think you should go first.
I was waiting for it. All right. So, I mean, no surprise. I really like this. Just something about these games where you just have to collect stuff is always so much fun to me. I love the personality of it. I think the personality helps it a lot. And I think I can just give it a pass on a lot of the downfalls because of what it was for the time. Much like with Crash. We love the Crash games, but there are downfalls to the Crash games because of the time they were created. I will say I did have a range. I'm going to go on the lower end a little bit just because of what you were saying with the exploring parts and how they do get a little bit longer with no checkpoints. That sucks. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 7.5.
All right.
Here comes the very low number.
No, I will say a couple of the points that you made, definitely, that was on me, especially the health one, because that was a big one for me. Really made me angry when I didn't have any of the life vials left. But knowing that I could have refilled them the whole time, I wish the game told me that in some way. But regardless, I should have dug a little more and figured it out. So
and it would have probably made some of the levels easier on you.
No, that's true. All of my other points still stand regardless of that. Like the way I feel about the combat, the way I just don't feel that this game is just very fun in general, but it does have a great style, looks great. So I originally was going to go a little bit lower than this, but just looking at the list and seeing like what game would I rather play than what, right? I mean, that's how I had to frame this one, because if it was purely on just my enjoyment, I would give it something really low because I just did not have a fun time.
Right.
I'm going to go with a 5.5.
Oh my God.
I had written down a 5.
5.5?
I would rather play Driver. I would rather play Destruction Derby. I'd rather play Bomberman.
I'm blown away by that number.
Hey, we always talked about how we wanted to disagree. Here we are.
Okay, so hold on. For Van Ark, you gave that a 6.5, which, I mean, we were pretty much just, there was no story. There was no anything. It was just shoot and then you're pretty much done until you move on to the next level and start shooting some more. You think that's better than this game?
That game had tight controls and it was fun to play.
I am blown away right now. Like I knew the comparison was going to be around A Bug's Life for you because same problems pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this is a good game. Like it's not great, but it's like, so for a 5, we typically say like a 5 is bad, but it still has some positives.
Yeah, I think this game is bad, but it still has some positives.
But like even a 7 is like a good, but has like some minor flaws. I think that's where this sits. Like it has a lot of minor flaws to it, but
I just think the act of playing the game is not fun.
Wow.
I don't like the combat at all. I just don't. I don't know. I just don't like it.
There's no way I can convince you that this needs to be a little bit higher.
I mean,
if that's where you sit, that's where you sit. I thought it was going to be low. I was expecting like 6.5, the lowest.
I just got so frustrated. And I mean, some of that was because of the health thing, but I just don't like this kind of combat. I just don't. I mean, if we're going to do hack and slash, that's fine, but at least make it so that I don't have to constantly take damage all the time.
Okay.
I don't know. I just had such a negative reaction to this. Like, we were playing this and Silent Hill at the same time. And obviously I struggle playing Silent Hill because it's scary and I don't like scary games. But I still would rather go play more Silent Hill than play this game.
I agree. I think Silent Hill was much better.
It was hard to play it just because sometimes I was like really on edge or like trying to figure out the puzzles, even though I was following a walkthrough. But still, the thought of playing this game again, I continually put it off until literally I played the last bit right before we did the podcast because I just did not want to play it anymore.
And I'm the opposite, where if we weren't doing this for the show and I was playing this, I would 100% every single level. I would keep going until I could perfect every single level and 100% everything. And that's just where we are with that.
One thing I am a little conflicted on is maybe I should raise it to a 6 just because of the production value. Like, just because like the art style, the music, we didn't really talk about the music. It's good. It's not like memorable, but it really fits the vibe.
That's exactly what I had written down too, of like, no track really stood out to me, but it fit the environment and it fit the world. So like, it was kind of like hidden in the background, but it complemented everything together.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not going to go listen to the soundtrack to Nightmare Before Christmas, but when I'm watching the movie, it's great.
Exactly.
And the graphics are good, and the voice acting is also good. We didn't talk about that really. It's all great.
And like the subtle comedy to it, even though like it's
when he talks and he's just like, all right. I'll do a 6. That's all you're getting out of me.
Okay, I'm happy with that at least. I just feel like the 5s are more meant for like middle of the road, which in your eyes this could be middle of the road. Yeah,
I'm interested because there's a sequel on the PS1, so hopefully some things were fixed. Hopefully it's not just another game in the same engine with nothing changed, but we'll find out in time, I guess.
I will admit, if the camera was better, this would be sitting really high up on the list for me.
If the camera was perfect, it would go up at least 0.5 for me.
That's fair. At least it's not too far up. I thought maybe you could go for like a 4 or something on this, and then I'd really be trying to fight to get the score up because
that's way too harsh.
Yeah. All right, well, then that puts us at 6.75, kind of a big tie with all the other games I considered mediocre. I mean, no surprise, this is going to be with Elemental Gearbolt, Chocobo Mystery Dungeon, Tekken 1, and Hot Shots Golf. No surprise, I think this is better than all those. I would put this at the top.
I don't agree with that. If I was fully in charge and didn't have to worry about what you think, I would put it under Tekken.
Oh my God, you're putting it so low.
But I will meet you in the middle and put it underneath Elemental Gearbolt.
I was going to at least fight for that. Like, can we at least put it between the two?
No, that's a fair compromise.
Okay. So we will have this at number 17, underneath Elemental Gearbolt, above Chocobo Mystery Dungeon. I'm shocked. I thought you were going to go higher on this.
I don't know. I really tried to like it because like I said, I love the aesthetic. I love everything else about it. It's just the act of playing it. I just hate it.
Well, I mean, we finally got our one episode where we disagree on everything, so it is possible.
There will be more, especially if we play more games like this.
I wasn't convinced. I thought for sure we were just always going to agree because we always have been, so...
Yeah, I mean, this is what, episode 41? 42. So 41 episodes of us agreeing on every game.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest discrepancy has been maybe of 1 point.
Yeah. Aside from Star Wars, we won't count that one, but...
Yeah. But most of the time it's like, oh, I like this a little bit more than you, or you like this a little bit more than me. It's not like, we're 2 points apart.
Exactly.
Well, all right. That is going to do it for us. Thank you so much for watching or listening. If you enjoyed this, please remember to like and subscribe, as well as give us a rating on podcast services. We'll see you next week.